While we're on food, I also think that the standard for all fried chicken is based off of Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen. There's no way around it.
So you're saying they're living up to Popeyes? You have to
Yes,
meet that
Popeyes.
standard?
I read an article by Spencer Hall a few weeks ago, Bum Chillips on Twitter, and he literally ranked it. And Popeyes is literally in a category of its own. Then you have your Churches and your Zaxby's and your Raising Cane's of all of that.
So I had Popeyes probably one of the first times a couple months ago. And I've had Chick-fil-A multiple times. I think Popeyes is better than Chick-fil-A.
Thank you.
I only had it one time, but that one time
the reason people don't
stuck out.
Chick-fil-A is like your nice spot where you're gonna be treated well and you're gonna enjoy yourself, and you may end up with like 17 extra nuggets in your bag. Like, thing with Popeyes is they either look really nice or they look like they were built in 1980. There's no in between. And
that's true, yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that their chicken hits every single time.
Yeah, whatever they're doing, keep it up.
Exactly. I think their chicken sandwich is better than Chick-fil-A's, and I'm probably gonna have.
That's what I got, and I agree with you.
I'm gonna have some people who are mad at me for it, but if you know me well and you know who I am as a person, it shouldn't surprise you at all.
Welcome to the Candid Conversation, everyone. I'm Drew Hernandez. Today with me is Charlie Crowley, or Charles. He's a person that I met through Aquinas and went to school with him, and he's doing some pretty big things now and living in Minnesota. So, Charlie, what's up, man? How's it going?
I am so blessed and honored to finally be on this podcast. I think I was destined to be on this podcast before the first episode even dropped.
So how has it been like in Minnesota so far? Like, do you live with roommates?
Yes and no. I actually have a kid who's moving in with me today, actually. But I've been on my own for the last 3 months now. I had a roommate before that. It's kind of nice. I live in a guest house on a lake up here in northern Minnesota. I say I'm 2 hours from the Twin Cities, which is true, but in reality, I'm closer to Fargo, North Dakota. So I'm literally in an area where if you took a dart and you threw it at a map of the U.S., like it would land there, and they'd be like, yeah, sure, we'll go here. Like, it's a nice town though. It's a resort town in the summer. It's pretty sleepy in the winter. Like, a lot of places close at like 9 o'clock. So yeah, I've enjoyed my time up here, just working for a hockey academy. It's supposed to be in the 40s next week. Like, I may go swimming in the lake if it thaws.
Like I said, you went to Aquinas, and what made you choose to go there?
I think it was a combination of things. The biggest was probably hockey. I played there for 3 years, which is a fancy way of saying that I took a lot of stats for 3 years. Did have 2 goals though. One goal I had in a 6-0 game, and the other one I had in like an 11-0 game. Cal Brininger shot it. It went off my shin pad and went in the net. So real highlight reel stuff.
Oh yeah.
So it was that. They gave me a really good financial package. It's kind of weird. Like, I talking with my parents later in life, they always thought that I would be the one to go to a big school and my siblings not. But like, both my siblings, my brother's a junior at Indiana. My sister graduated from Indiana, which is, 40, 50,000 people. And I chose the school that was smaller than my high school. I think one of the things I liked about AQ is that it just kind of felt like home. Like, you could walk around campus and you could see, like, walking from the academic building to the library, you could see someone you knew and were close with, and then you could see someone that you've never seen before. And it's kind of what I liked about it. It was tight knit. Everyone was close with everyone. I felt like I got a lot more meaningful relationships out of it than if I were to have gone to a big school. Because I was able to, smaller class sizes, and the sports teams were all close and that sort of thing. So
yeah, you were able to get to know everyone on a personal basis in comparison to like having someone in class and having like no interaction with them ever, or being able to see them ever anywhere else on campus. But that what you're saying, and we kind of talked about this before we actually started the podcast, like after being away from Aquinas for so long, you kind of forget like the college experience kind of stuff, but the people that you build the connections with, like those are kind of people that are like that sticks around in comparison to like those kind of memories for the most part. So what? How did you end up in Minnesota?
Um, the same way I've ended up with a lot of my life. I basically just keep rolling the pair of dice and I keep hitting every single time. I haven't lost yet.
Keep that
So
hot
after,
streak.
yeah, so something like that. I'm still waiting for the hot streak where I make like $10 million and can retire on a beach. So after I graduated, I was working just like a part-time job that I wasn't really a fan of, and I was just going through some stuff just mentally, just because, I graduated school and, it's, you're seeing everyone, like getting jobs right away and moving to these cool cities and, like getting their life underway. And I'm just like, man, like I have no idea what I want to do with my life or anything. Like I'm just kind of existing, really. Like,
Right. Yeah.
literally like an Office Space kind of thing where it's like you go to work and just like go home, and it's just repetitive, and it was basically killing me inside. And I ended up, after a few months, I walked into a really great situation where I was able to get a job at the University of Notre Dame for 2 years working at the ice rink there.
How was that?
It was an awesome experience. I mean, it was cool, kind of in a full circle way, because I played in South Bend growing up, and then I was able to come back and work at a rink that I had played and practiced at for the last 2 years of high school.
Right.
And to help out with our local youth league, coaching, working practices and stuff. It really felt nice to kind of, like, I was getting paid for it obviously, but to like give back to kind of the league that I started in, and where I
give
found
back
the
to the
game to begin
community
with.
that you originated in. Definitely.
Yeah.
So back to what you were saying about the other stuff about Minnesota.
Yeah. So after that, after I was done there, I was looking for jobs, and I got offered a job in East Lansing to work at an ice rink that would have been May of 2019. And I just kind of had this weird gut feeling. I'm like, I don't know if this is what I want to keep doing or what I need to do right now. And so I talked with some people, and I mean, it would have been a great job, and I probably would still be working there, honestly, if I
would have pursued it.
Yes, yeah, if I would have pursued it, but I just decided not to. So I got working at Notre Dame, and then I was without a job for like a month or two. I'm finding this job at the academy that I work at now, and it was crazy. Like in a 2-week span, I went from applying, and then 2 weeks later, like I'm packing my car with pretty much everything I own and heading up to Minnesota. So 600 miles away from home. I didn't know a single person up here. It was the first situation I've ever walked into where I didn't know anyone at all. Like even when I went to Aquinas, like I knew a few people going in beforehand.
Right. Yeah.
And the 2 jobs I had before it, same thing. So it wasn't, I don't want to say it was culture shock, but it's kind of hard for me to adjust a little bit, just between, working long hours and trying to, get some time to myself, that sort of thing. But I've been able to figure it out now, and it's been a really rewarding experience working up here. So
do you think going from like a new environment, like you said, culture shock, do you think it's harder to be yourself, or do you want to like when you're first meeting
100%. It's like,
because you want to like and get those like friendships and like build relationships with people, but it's hard to like just showcase like, oh, this is how I am. I don't want to like overdo it, kind of thing.
Oh no, I know it's 100% that way, because I've had the coach I work for tell me, he's like from when you got here to where you are now, like they're 2 different people. I think part of it is I have, like, as you know, I have like a kind of a quick wit and like kind of a like weird sense of humor, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
you're trying to like meet these people, like do your job and adjust. Like yeah. Basically the best way I can put it is it took me like 7 months to finally read the room and see what worked and what didn't.
Right. Yeah.
And now I feel like my personality shows a lot more with our players and with our staff. And I think it's just helped me feel more free and kind of feel, just kind of feel more joyful all the time, basically. I still don't get enough sleep, but that's neither here nor there. But I feel like I'm in a better spot now just because I'm able to be myself like all the time. So I'm not a coach so much. I more do like operations for the team, but I still interact with them like with both teams all the time.
Okay.
And I think like that's just it. Like I'm closer in age to our players than I am anyone else on staff. Well, one of the assistant coaches is like a year older than me, but like
Right.
everyone else is in like their 30s and has like a wife and kids and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I relate to them. I think they see me more as like a big brother, like where
Yeah.
they can come to me and like talk to me about their problems, but they can also like annoy me to the ends of the earth, which they do on a daily basis. But it's in a good way, and I like it. Like they're just a fun group to be around. It's fun watching them grow up over the course of the year, just from when they come in on day one and to where they are now and where they'll continue to be. Yeah, it is weird though. I'm like being around these kids and like they're so mature for their age too. I'm like, how are you 17? Like you like you'd have a better conversation with an adult than I would right now. I don't know. It's fun being able to like relate to them more because I kind of went through the same sort of things they were going through not too long ago. Although some of them are on a bigger level than me, even going playing Division One in a few years, that sort of thing. I was never close to playing Division One at all.
So
I was
so
barely close to playing Division Three. Probably couldn't play Division Three.
where exactly are you like established at? Like where are you working for? Doing
I work for
operations?
North. I work for North Star Christian Academy. Or just a hockey academy here in Alexandria, Minnesota. There's about 48 kids here from all over the country. We have kids as far west as Alaska and as far east as Long Island
Damn.
and everywhere in between. And it's just an awesome place where, both of our teams are really good this year. All of our kids are awesome. It's really nice to help develop them not only as just hockey players, but just as men, I think is the biggest thing.
Oh
A
yeah,
lot of
definitely.
I mean, we have a few local kids on our team. For the most part, a lot of these kids are far away from home for a long amount of time, and that's not easy to do when you're, 15 years old.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Nothing says commitment issues like moving away from everyone I know 600 miles to the middle of Minnesota to work with a bunch of teenagers.
Yeah, but like that kind of makes you be able to relate with those kids that come from all over parts of the US because you're like, yeah, I'm just the same way as you. Like granted, maybe not as far, but still like I understand the homesick kind of feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest I distract myself enough with work and with other stuff up here that like and it was the same kind of thing I went through when I was at college. Like the only time I really got homesick was like I want to go home. I want to go home is like a few days before I actually go home for a break.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Obviously it's great being home and seeing all my friends and stuff. And obviously when it comes around to leave, everyone's like, oh, great, like you have to leave. I'm like, yeah, but this is what I signed up for, and it's something that I'm pursuing and going for. So
So what it
it's tough sometimes, but manageable.
from here, where are like your dreams and aspirations going to take you forward? Like what's your end goal kind of thing? Like are you still trying to figure that out?
I have two end goals. My ideal end goal is I marry rich and live on the beach the rest of my life.
That's a great one.
Things aren't looking great for that. Whoops. May have done that to myself. I don't really know what like my professional aspirations are, like, which is weird because I'm 26 and I feel like I should have some sort of grasp on that. I think I don't really know. Like, it's something I should probably think about more.
My personal advice to you is like time, it's not necessarily like linear. Like you don't have to like pinpoint certain times of your life that you need to be at the certain spot. Like I feel like, and because I understand where you're coming from when you're talking about like how like your mental state was a little different, like seeing all these people get a job and doing these things. Like I kind of felt that way too in a sense because like I just felt like I wasn't doing enough. But you can't put like a timeline or a timestamp on like when you need to like be doing a certain thing. If you're happy where you're what you're doing with like what you're doing or pursuing, like that's all that really matters. Being able to just be happy in the moment and like enjoying like the process. Like, you're going to get to your end goal. So what's the point of like stressing yourself out and rushing it, or forcing yourself to be somewhere and then end up not even liking the situation of what you're trying to do?
Yeah, I think too, like the only time that I don't get FOMO or anything for the most part. I will say the only time I'm kind of like,
say the same.
I think the only time that's maybe not tough, but I'm kind of like, darn, like that looks fun, would be like especially these past few weeks where you see a lot of people going on vacation and stuff to warm weather climates, or they're hanging out with buddies, that sort of thing. And I'm just like, well, it's about 25 below today, and I'm just kind of hanging out. So
I'm just
I don't know.
sit in and watch Netflix.
Yeah, like I get I get long enough breaks since I work at a school where like when I go home, I'm able to go home for like a week or two.
Right.
So that's really nice where I'm able to go and see my buddies, and I'm usually able to catch up with everyone I want to catch up with. And like last summer, I was home the whole time, and so yeah, that's kind of the only feeling about it. I'd say for the most part, like I understand why I'm here and I understand what I'm doing. So it's not like I'm just like crushed every week and like, oh man, I wish I was, seeing this buddy here, or I wish I was in Florida or Arizona or whatever. I'm just kind of like, I'm enjoying where I'm at, and and I'm just trying to, see where life can take me. And
that's awesome, man. I'm happy for you. I'm glad that you have that outlook of life, because it's a hard thing to have for a lot of people. I know a lot of people feel like they just need to be doing something or be somewhere that puts them forward all the time. Just being happy where you are is probably the most important thing in life. But I have a question for you. What's your so you're coaching kids that are young, that are going to go either D1, D2 or whatever, and they have the opportunity to do that. What's your take on college athletes being able to get paid?
Finally, I think the name, image, and likeness thing is great. I think it's, I mean, a lot of these kids come from nothing, and the scholarship and everything is great. But if they're able to market themselves where they can, capitalize, like, isn't there some volleyball player at Aquinas who's making
that's what
coin?
I was gonna bring up. She's quote unquote the first athlete in all of college sports that is able to make money on her own name, because of she's super popular on a lot of social medias like YouTube and TikTok and whatever else. But still, good for her. And why not being able to do that?
Before we get into that, I just want to say on TikTok, I have had you and I have had a friend's mom say that if I were on TikTok, I would be a viral sensation.
Oh yeah, dude. Just the little humor that you have, and how you just kind of come with jokes on top of your head. If you just kind of just recorded you just saying a funny thing, a little clip, I think I would give it a like.
I mean, I think the hardest thing is, I don't does this mean I have to move to LA and live in a house with a bunch of other TikTokers?
Yeah, I need to see you be doing some dances and stuff in the mirror.
Dude, I can barely I can barely dance as it is. I hit the whoa for my players because I think it's hilarious, and I dab. The dab went out of style 3 years ago.
And you still do it.
Yeah, 100%. You gotta stick with what works for you. Anyways,
exactly.
No, I think it's great that the NCAA and the NAI are allowing players to get their bag, through sponsorship deals. And I mean, you look at some of the numbers for these people, what's the name? That Haley Cruz girl who plays softball for Oregon.
Right.
She could make a solid 6 figures off of her, just herself as a brand, which is huge.
Or if you want to even throw it back a couple years ago, Zion Williams, he could have been making bank in a college. Granted, exactly. He already knew he was going to be going to the league too, but still, the kid could have been making money at 18.
Exactly. Here's the thing though, where it gets not dicey, but a lot. You look at let's say college basketball, for example. If a kid goes to a Nike school, you're not going to have Adidas throw money at him because he can't contractually wear an Adidas shoe while he's playing at a Nike school. Yeah. Obviously he can catch on the back end. We look at Zion Williamson in college a few years ago. he's wearing Nike shoes and something happened and his shoe blew out on him. And like I think he got injured. And
Right,
everyone's like, oh man, like did Nike just screw up their chance to sign Zion Williamson when he goes to the league? Like if I'm an Adidas rep or an Under Armour rep or Puma or whoever, I'm salivating at that. It's like, oh man, that shoe just flew out of him. Like this could be our shot to get in there.
yeah, definitely. But like,
I think looking at other brands like smaller stuff, whether I think you'll see a lot of kids doing sports drinks. I think you'll see a lot of them doing that. You'll just see them doing local deals. You'll see them doing clothing brands, whatever they're into. I like now more that you see less athletes that are just kind of the robots that we're used to, and you see a lot more personality being shown.
oh yeah, definitely.
Which I'm 100% for. Like some of it can be a little over the top, and I'm like, hey, if that's the way the kid acts, like, and that's how he's gonna make money, or that's how he's gonna get his name out there, like, go for it, man.
If you were in college, what are some brands that you wish you could rep?
What brands could Charles Joseph Crowley have repped in college? Converse Chuck Taylors.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to think. Like, I don't really know. Like, I'd say probably Converse. I mean, I played hockey, so it's like this, you wear the same like 4 pieces of equipment.
Right.
Yeah, I think I'm sure there are other brands that I could have been a partner for, but we won't dive into that. But I don't know. I think I could have been a great spokesman for Farrah's, RIP.
Yeah. Well, no, they're back up.
Let's go.
Yeah, they re-renovated and yeah, they're back up. That just makes you like salivate at like being able to come back now.
I think my clock is up. At a time I still had like 2 years of eligibility left because I didn't play my senior year, but I think that clock is up now, so I can't play anymore.
Well,
Which, that I think I saw some gas in the tank.
but what do you think about the whole, like, where do you see it going wrong when it comes to, other than like the shoe stuff or like the main brand?
I think you will see it going wrong when you have players getting ludicrous amounts of money for something they shouldn't be doing. And I say it like this, like,
do you think there should be a cap limit for it? Just kind of like how there is for salary?
Maybe not a cap, but it needs to be within their means. Like if it's a high profile athlete and let's say he does a sponsored post on his Instagram for, whatever. Like, I don't think like he shouldn't be getting a check for $100,000 out of it. Like,
right. Yeah.
He should be making, if he makes $2,000 or $5,000 or whatever it is, $10,000 if his reach is that big, like, that's one thing. I just think that's where the biggest thing where it could go wrong is it's the same thing forever. Division I athlete is playing for a school and gets a summer job at the used car lot where the guy's a booster and all the other part-time employees are making like $10 an hour and he's making $35 an hour. And they're giving him a car to drive on top of it, if that makes sense. So like, I think that's where you'll find your biggest issues is as long as companies aren't abusing it and where they're paying like a ton of money to players and players aren't accepting a ton of money, like that's kind of where I see the biggest problem is it. I think it has to be reasonable. I don't hate the idea of a cap. I just think it'll be too hard to police because, you go back to Zion Williamson a few years ago, like if you have let's call it a $125,000 cap on what you can make in endorsements, like Zion could have that in like 2 posts or whatever. Like he could have made a ton more money.
Right. I think the only thing, sorry, what I was gonna say is, I think the big thing with this, if it like actually is something that's gonna be a long-term thing, I see it allowing kids to stay in school longer. Like, I think that's going to be a big help for like the difference of having a kid who's like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna make some money doing these sponsorships, like play my sport, have fun, blah blah blah. But like, can I go to the league? Yeah, I'm gonna go. I can go to the league, but why not stay here, make some more money? I got some other recruits that are willing to stay too. Like, let's win a natty together too.
I think more of the way you look at it too is if they're allowed to make money, and I like where you're going with that, but you look at it from a playing perspective. Like let's say the kid is a junior and
Right.
he's a basketball player and he's making money off of sponsorships and stuff. And their look is like, well, we go to the draft experts and they're like, you're gonna be like a late second round pick, may not even get picked.
Mm-hmm.
Like if that's the case, or with football, it's like, well, you may be like a 5th or 6th round pick as a junior if you leave right now. But if they're making money off it, then they can look like, well, if I'm still making this money, I can stay another year, I can train, I can get my education, and maybe then they go through the whole year, have a monster senior season. And that's like, all right, now you're a mid first round pick, or you're a high second round pick. So I think that's one of the pluses of being able to do this. Is some guys look as like, well, I don't have to go to the league right away
To make
because
money.
I can make money right now. I mean, granted, you're still going to have guys who leave for whatever reason, but I think that for like your top end guys are going to go, but your middle guys, if they're making money there and they're looking at their situation, like, well, I can stay another year.
Like, I think the biggest thing is it encourages players to stay if their draft stock isn't as high as they think it'll be.
Right. Yeah.
Like if you're
A top tier player, you're gonna go.
yeah, but if you're projected to be a 4th round pick, and it's like, well, maybe I can stay another year and I can go and be a 2nd round pick. Granted, you're always gonna have the thing that you're always going to have the downside of like, well, I could have a major injury next year, but like if you're making money, whatever, and injury is just the name of the game. It sucks, but that's something that just is going to happen.
Also, going off of that, I think a possibility that could happen to kids, which is a negative, is if you get hurt, people might dive out of you. It'll be like, all right, like we don't want you to be rolling with us anymore. Because I don't know like how the whole contract thing will be.
Yeah, I mean that's true too. But I think on the flip side of that, like if a kid gets hurt and like hurts his shoulder, but is still able to go to the league, like you may be able to stick with him. I mean, if LeBron James missed a whole year, Nike's not going to drop him, right?
Right. But what I'm saying is like, all right, you have this number one going to be a top, like number one draft pick. All right. And like suffers a career ending injury. They lose all their sponsorships. They lose the opportunity to go to the league. Like they're basically all the money they have made that's all they get. And they have to start over, like enter the real world kind of atmosphere.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's what the education part is for, right? So you have that to fall back on.
Do you think that's going to make kids want to like go in like, all right, I'm a star athlete. I'm going to go to this school. I'm going to make a bunch of money doing sponsorships. I'm going to end up going to the league. I'm going to take a BS like kind of route to go through college. Like, let me just take just random classes just to get like a degree in something that's not going to really benefit me.
Yeah, I think there'll be guys who no matter what.
There's already kids like that.
Yeah, but then you find the really smart ones who they're like, well, I can find a way to market, and I'm going to take my communication or marketing class, and then, boom, I know how to market myself, and I can just work as my own business.
Right.
Basically, they can become an Instagram influencer or a YouTuber, or if they're in a sport and they have a good communication, they can parlay that into a color job for a team. Like,
do you also think with this now happening and being able to happen, do you think major cities are going to be, they're already like top contenders, but like schools that like for example Houston, like not always a great athletically great school, but they're good enough to be kind of talked about, ranked here and there. Do you think those big kind of cities are going to be like, all right, getting all those star athletes because they know they can like market themselves a little bit better in that area?
Yes and no. I think yes, city-wise, yes, but you look at it too, like if you're a company, you know, where you're gonna get more if you're a company and you're trying to find an athlete, like, and say this is college basketball, are you gonna choose a kid who goes to Hofstra or are you gonna choose a kid who goes to Duke?
Right.
You're gonna choose the kid who goes to Duke because basically where they go is gonna play into it. Like obviously a school like Houston, shout out Phi Slamma Jamma, can have a good year. I mean, I was looking a few weeks ago at South Carolina basketball since they went to the Final Four under Frank Martin, like in 2017, 2016. Like they've been like middle of the road since.
Right.
So I think a lot of it you still have to go to a blue chip school, to a big gun school. Obviously, there will be some kids who were able to market themselves at a smaller school. But if I'm, you know, a big time company, like I'm still going to try to get a guy who goes to a Power 5 school, like no matter what, because
Right.
those are the ones that get the most airtime on TV. Those are the ones that people know the most. Those are the ones where they're going to get the most fans. Like I think and you know, those are the ones that get the best recruits. Like,
I completely agree with you. Like, I think that's very what's going to happen too. But all I don't want to see is I don't want it to end up turning into something that's like a money grabber and we lose the actual athletics.
yeah.
Like the athletes that are supposed to be those top dogs, like they're the ones who are like just being social media friendly and not like doing the extra stuff that they need to do to like be better at their sport, and then they just plateau.
I think I mean, you look at it now with Juju Smith-Schuster on the Steelers. Like,
Yeah,
the guy's,
like TikTok and stuff.
he knows how to brand himself and everything. And, you know, obviously the problem with that is that with him knowing how to brand himself, like he has one bad game, everyone's going back to the TikTok, right?
Right.
Like him dancing on the logo of the Bills field or the Browns field or whoever, and then they lose. Like everyone's like, well, maybe if he wasn't doing so many TikTok dances, like he could have called ball. And guys have bad games. That's just the way it is. Guys have bad games, and you can blame it on his social channel. You can blame it on a lot of things. Like it's the same thing that happens in the NHL every year in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Like, well, this guy's been playing like crap during the playoffs, like blah blah blah. Then it comes out he's playing on a torn ACL or a bum shoulder.
Right. That happens so much.
In 2011, Patrice Bergeron's playing on one lung essentially, and so like you can rip on the guys for it, but I don't know. Like I as long as you know where to draw the line, like you take LeBron for example. Like LeBron's not doing TikToks and stuff. He's just very active on social media.
Right.
But
he's also LeBron.
But he shows up to play, right?
Yeah.
And so people are like, whatever. I think that Juju shows up to play most of the time, but the second that he has a bad game, everyone's jumping on his ass and being like, well, maybe you should stay off of TikTok watching those films and get in the film room or practice more. It's like, the guy does his job. Like he just knows how to market himself doing it too. And I think a lot of it is you still have a lot of the older generation that's on sports talk and everything, and they're hating on it because they don't understand it or whatever. It's like everyone's used to the robots of athletics where it's like you walk in, you do your job, you leave, you answer all your questions with cliches of like, yeah, we need to make more baskets. Yeah, we need to get pucks in deep. Yeah, like we need to play meaner, that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah.
Like the second that someone's candid and gives their opinion or says something that's not on like the athlete's script of what to say in a press conference, like the whole world melts. It's stupid to me.
Yeah, definitely.
You want to talk conspiracies in sports?
What's up?
All right. My favorite sports conspiracy theory. Well, there's a few. The first is obviously that the Bush push was a blatant illegal use of hands penalty, and Notre Dame should have won that game.
I will never be told otherwise.
That
that's
is
how it is. And
I cried watching that. I was like 12. I cried watching the Bush push. I think that's like the only sporting event that I've watched that I've cried from. I'm pretty sure.
Any Notre Dame fan listening or watching, you all understand.
Yeah,
we're all on the same page on that one.
Just don't want to talk about it. My favorite sports conspiracy theory, or at least one of them, has got to be the frozen envelope theory.
What is that?
So the 1986 NBA draft was the draft where Patrick Ewing was coming out of Georgetown.
Right. Okay.
Bona fide stud. And what they used to do, instead of these ping pong balls for the lottery, which is the reasonable thing to do because they fly all over the place, is they basically had a giant globe filled with envelopes of each team, and they like swung it around.
Yeah. Okay.
And the theory is that the NBA put the New York Knicks envelope into a freezer until right before, like, they put them in the bin, so that Stern knew to grab the one that was cold because that was the Knicks envelope, and they were going to get Patrick Ewing and reignite the Knicks franchise.
Really? I've never heard that.
Yes, it's a theory that has been talked about for years. I think it is hilarious. First of all, like, well, there's that, and then they're like, well, the envelope was bent. It's like, okay, well, we put like 15 envelopes in a giant ball and circle them around. Stuff's gonna happen in the envelope, but you put this envelope in a freezer to get it cold. Like,
You're
that is just
not gonna be able to tell that.
That is just great comedy. Like, yeah.
If that's true, whoever thought that, good for you. Good on you.
My favorite thing too they do now is, like, the NHL draft lottery this year. They had had a newspaper from, like, the New York Times, and they go to Gary Bettman, who's the commissioner, and they're just like, is this, say, the date of blank 2020? And he's like, yes, that is the correct date. Like, basically confirm, like, hey, this is happening today, live, like, in person. I think it is. The draft lotteries have just gotten so funny because there's so much conspiracy behind it. I mean, like, the New York Rangers had the second overall pick, the first overall pick. The Edmonton Oilers have had like 5 first-round picks in the last 12, or not 5 first-round picks, 5 like first overall picks in the last like 12 years or whatever it is.
They're trying to build those bad teams up to make a better league.
Yeah, which works sometimes, but then, you know, at the end of the day, it's still the front office that screws everything up, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
But that's probably my favorite. I think the Jordan flu game, that can go either way, and there's 1,000 conspiracy theories with Michael Jordan. I don't know. Like, there's just so much crazy stuff that doesn't make any sense to me with sports in general. And I live it and I work it, and it still doesn't make sense to me.
I will say this. My own conspiracy. This is what I think. It doesn't matter the teams that go to a natty or to a Super Bowl or a World Series in the last couple of years, like since 2015, those games have been unbelievably unbelievable. Those games they're like written. It is scripted. Like I remember the Clemson one when Deshaun Watson was the quarterback and they won it.
They won on a last-second play, Hunter Renfrow, in the right corner of the end zone.
That was like storybook type of ending, and the celebration. It was like I was watching a movie that was already like done. I don't believe that. Like, do I believe that those teams were good enough to win? Yes, but like, do I think like, did it really end up that way? Who knows? That's how I think.
I think that I think football, and I'm neither for nor against this theory. Football, you could maybe pull it because football you can script because it's play-by-play thing.
You're gonna tell me old ass Tom Brady, yes, one of the best quarterbacks of our lifetime, and I'm not gonna say anything bad about him being a quarterback. You're gonna tell me old ass Tom Brady is gonna go and leave to Tampa Bay Bucks that is not the greatest team, but brings in all these other people and wins a Super Bowl. Arguably one of his last years. No,
it makes perfect sense to me. Have you seen the income tax in Massachusetts compared to Tampa? There's no state income tax in Tampa. He's getting his money. He's chasing the bag now. He's done everything he needs to do.
True.
He's not even the breadwinner in his family. His wife is.
Oh, 100%. But That's
He can
neither.
do whatever he wants. He could have gone and played in Cleveland if he wanted to. Who wants to live in Cleveland and play football? No offense to Cleveland.
Okay.
He can go live on Davis. He can go live on Davis Island in Derek Jeter's house.
Going reverse then. Peyton Manning won it in his final year again, or went to Denver from Indianapolis.
No, the only conspiracy I have with Peyton Manning on that is that he bought like 200 Papa John's franchises in Colorado, like right before they legalized marijuana. So I think if anything, the only conspiracy there is maybe insider trading.
That's also another thing too, though. Completely different story, but I wouldn't be surprised if that something like that happened. Like they reached out to Peyton Manning early, and he had some inside info. Why not hop on Papa John's?
Yeah, Papa John's is a story we do not need to go into because that company is all over the place. I put them in the bottom tier of nationally chained pizza places.
They're not good. I don't like them either.
I'd say Domino's is probably one just because their crust is really good. I haven't had Pizza Hut in a long time. Pizza Hut has wings though, so that's one of their pluses. But Papa John's, I think that with Papa John's, like they have the garlic sauce, and like that's their most endearing quality for me.
Thank you guys for listening on this Candid Conversation. It was very out there. I hope it was a lot different than normally, so I'm glad that we got to do something like this. And Charlie, thank you for being a part of it.
No problem. Next time I'm on, I'll tell the story of how I want to become a Cajun fry cook.
Sounds good. I can't wait for that. All right. Thank you, everyone. Until next time.
Take care, Drew. Thanks for having me, buddy. Appreciate it.